Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome again to the Advantage Manufacturing Show. This is our fifth session, and today we have a slightly different format from the previous two sessions. So, today we are going to have with us the chairman of EPC, Mr. Ravi Sehgal, and the AIA president, Mr. Ravi Agarwal, who are uh, jointly responsible for organizing this show. Both are respective heads of their associations, and it is quite a coincidence that today I have a team which is very well balanced. We have the two Ravis together on one side, heading the associations, and to complement them are the two technical experts. And very, very interestingly, the letter follows R with S, and both Sunil Jha and Sunil Mehta. So it's a very unique day, and I think the audience will be in for a pleasant hearing of all the experts. As you all know, our webinar series on advantage manufacturing is meant to really kickstart the resurgence post the COVID breakdown. So it's not only a question of getting back uh, from the survival mode to the new normal mode, but it's also about rebuilding the future. And as our Prime Minister has been saying, that this is really our time and moment to try and get back our priority on manufacturing. That is the backdrop. While we wait for the audience to start trickling in, may I now request for a kind of a brief presentation about the theme, and over the next few minutes, this will roll by itself. You will be hearing the speakers, but the context is being laid with this Make in India initiative, the trust we all need to have in each other, and we got to enable in each other on productivity, quality, reliability, and safety. Can we move the presentation? Yeah. And this is also an interesting scale to watch, that how the existing criteria has been modified, improved. I am aware that there are certain ground issues, but the bottom line of this changed criteria really is that companies do not lose their classification even if they increase their investment limit by a factor of 2, 3, or 4. So that's really very, very encouraging, and that really allows for a play of technology infusion. The government support on non-technical parameters in terms of concessions, subsidies, equity infusion, loan withdrawal or dilution of collaterals, or reimbursement of specifications. There's a whole list of things. I guess experts are studying it, and so are you as the people who are directly impacted. And the reason we are bringing all of this on our technology show is to really say that it's not just one aspect of your business which is going to be impacted, but I think everything is happening together concurrently. So really, we believe this is the time and this is the moment. Next, please. We're all aware that there are different pockets of manufacturing excellence. I'm not going to be giving a gyan on this, but each one of you can probably see this as a mirror. In some cases, you might have already got the solution. In some cases, you might be looking for a solution. And we hope that through this intervention on technology, on automation, and as we move forward into the higher order Industry 4.0, you will begin to find answers. So do notice your challenge and keep that in mind when you listen to our speakers, and please also make it a point to be active during the Q&A part of the program. The goals for smart manufacturing definitely focuses on increasing the economic potential of the stakeholders, primarily you, the business owners, as well as overall the ecosystem and the country. And really speaking, what Corona has taught us in our DNA is to actually begin to take decisions, ideate much faster, and respond much faster. So through increased agility, we all can have the ability to implement customized production without quality loss and other wastages. There are different stages of smart manufacturing. Again, I would not run through all of this. Maybe in your question answers, and also maybe Dr. Jha might reflect on this during the course of the session. This is a peep into our own laboratory at IIT Delhi, and really the message here is you could be sitting in your homes and you could be monitoring and watching your production flows, very much required in the times of social distancing. But I would say much more, it allows individuals and experts to leverage their time much more and by a factor of at least twice or more. The industry engagement, this is an important point I'd like to dwell on, that the awareness which we are bringing through these webinars is only the starting point. And as we, get to understand your various positions, we will roll out to you a readiness survey. It will be in an electronic format. We will try and make it like a fun and play. And we would also perhaps use a little bit of the WhatsApp channel to interact with you and get to know your needs a little more without disturbing too much of your time and without us having to invest time to travel to your locations. Once we have your readiness assessment, we would recommend certain pilots, and then the proof of concept of those pilots can also be supported. Dr. Jha will talk about that. Another critical aspect to MSME growth, I think, which is really, really fundamental, is the skilling of your people. Because we all know, while you have a great intention to absorb new technology, what might be holding you up is the fact that you do not have all the skills available in-house. And without that, you might be feeling a little worried. So to get you off that worry and to get your people really on their upward career path, skilling will play and give these twin advantages. And lastly would be the roadmap for you to really reach the top, compete on a global scale, scale up, have process excellence, etc. So a roadmap would also be something we would love to engage with you. As I said, if this journey of self-reliance has to be done, it can't be done alone. It can't be done by vendors. It can't be done by customers. This slide will show you a number of other players. Some of them may already be in touch with you, but some of them, might be the ones to watch out in future. You might hear a new term called digital business architect, and you might wonder, what building are you going to construct? Well, yes, you are going to construct a powerhouse of intelligent platform, scalable enterprise. So you would need these kind of experts to come in. And we'll be happy to provide a one-stop shop to the Foundation for Smart Manufacturing. In summary, what this really means is Samarth Udyog. And I'll be very happy if today I can introduce you to a concept which actually takes us away from the limitations of the word small, micro, or medium. Either you are a Samarth Udyog or you are not. So we would like all of us to fall under this one category. Size does not matter, ability matters. And that is what the government has flagged as its manufacturing leadership initiative And as you can see, the other powerhouses of manufacturing economies have their own national agenda. I'm very glad to inform you that India too has its own agenda. So that really brings us to the point where we are now going to open the program. We've crossed the 100 mark, so that's great. Now I begin the show in real earnest. A quick word about our speakers today. As I mentioned, we have two gentlemen, both Mr. Ravi Sehgal, the chairman of Engineering Export Promotion Council. Can we have his bio on the screen? Mr. Sehgal would be kickstarting today's conversation as a representative not only of his own enterprise but also as the head of the very important council which governs the export potential and the capability of the Indian entrepreneurs. So Mr. Sehgal would be our starting speaker, and as you can see from his profile, he has a multifaceted personality. We'd love to hear him. Our next speaker would be Mr. Ravi Agarwal, President of Automation Industry Association and also the Managing Director of Pepperell and Fuchs. And he is one of the co-architects of the Samarth Udyog flagship program of Government of India. My third speaker is Mr. Sunil Mehta. Mr. Mehta is a long-time associate of Mesung Systems, an Indian company which later metamorphosed into Mitsubishi India. And he's been an all-rounder in the field of industrial automation, championing various aspects from product R&D to marketing and to e-Factory Alliance. And he will take on the onerous task of completely demystifying and talking to you about affordable automation today. Our fourth and final speaker is Professor Sunil Jha. Professor Sunil Jha, as you have been noticing, is our expert on most of the shows, and he brings in a very nuanced and a very balanced view of the exchange because he's completely isolated from the selling process and an educationist at heart. His love for all of India to really master their art and craft in manufacturing and engineering is really lovely to see. So welcome all the four experts. Mr. Ravi Sehgal, welcome to you. Mr. Ravi Agarwal, glad to have you on the show. Sunil Mehta, we're waiting to see your picture on the screen. And Professor Sunil Jha, welcome once again. Great. So now we are going to begin with a little understanding of the engineering sector. As you all know, engineering sector is the mother of all industries. And my question to Mr. Ravi Sehgal is that in the midst of the COVID scenario and the opening of various industries, don't you think the gap between getting back to normal and investing in automation is a very daunting task? And more so given the fact that a lot of your members are currently operating at industry 2.0 or 2.5 levels. So how is your assessment of the situation, and where do you think the takeoff is going to take from? Mr. Sehgal.
Thank you, Mr. Anu, and good afternoon to everyone, all the participants and the speakers. Friends, it's a very valid question. First of all, you said engineering sector is the mother of all industries, and it does contribute about 18% to India's GDP. and also almost 25% to the exports of merchandise from India. We had $81 billion of exports in 2018-19, and even with the toughest conditions that we had with the trade wars going on and the COVID coming in at the later part of the fiscal year, we touched about $76.2 billion. Having said this, I mean, and with 70% of our members being in MSME sector, we have about 13,000 members all over India, and most of them being in MSME sector. And you rightly said that they are still at, industry 2.0, I mean, state. I mean, the reason being, of course, many, but this is a time that people did get opportunity, and EPC through our own tech cell and our webinars, we have been educating our members that this is a learning time, because what we are seeing is post-COVID, we have to change our thinking process, our production process for two reasons. One of them is, of course, for the health, hygiene, safe distancing. In many industries in MSME, we find that people work very close to each other. They are touching the same parts again and again. And there are a lot of these factors which go against the current, measures to maintain hygiene. The other thing is we find that a lot of these capacities are going to come from China into India. And in fact, when most of these Americans, Europeans, they are coming in and rather talking to the people for added capacity, we find that there is a need for capacity expansion. Now, if you combine both these two things and two factors, I mean, this is the right and opportune time to get into automation. Because unless we do some process automation, some bit of robotics or some bit of 3D printing methods or whatever we have to in developing ourselves into a higher capacity, better quality product, we will miss out to Vietnam and Thailand and Cambodia, Turkey, whatever. And so this is the time for India to prepare. And I think COVID has given us that break from where we have to shift from the 2.0, which most of the industry is, to at least 3.0, if not 4.0. And I think today's seminar is definitely going to help open up ideas on how we work together. The apprehension of the MSME sector that, oh, it's too expensive, or we have to employ much higher salaried people. I mean, these are the thought processes in minds of people which we have to sit together. I mean, the industry, the academia, and we as EPC in between as a conduit, I think, can work together to empower the MSMEs, as you say, for Atmanirbharta, the self-reliant India.
Thanks, Mr. Sehgal. I think that's a very positive note, and really, I wish all of us could take that energy from your statements. Actually, that's the only thing we can do. In fact, what's happened is happened. What's going to happen is happening. It's just our ability to respond. And I think with your leadership, we do hope that we can help put our shoulders behind your initiative. I'll come back to you, Mr. Sehgal, but now, I really want to sort of ask a similar question, and I guess I'm going to get a slightly different aspect from Mr. Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal, you're all aware you're dealing with so many of your colleagues in the industry. Overcoming the business impact of COVID itself is a very harsh reality and a difficult road ahead. How do you see a way out to move further?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. And this forum extends its support and prayers to all the warriors of COVID out there who are defending us. To answer your question, Anoopji, lot has been said in all kinds of media about social distancing, how machines would operate, and so on and so forth, sanitization. I think that's a very tangible, immediate way of trying to mitigate the challenge. Courtesy WhatsApp University, I found a very nice quote. Maybe it's also time to put a slide on it. If I can have the first slide. I would say if you look back at the world, every crisis has actually ended up in maturing men, society, the businesses, and nations. I mean, examples galore all over the world. The last biggest major crisis the world faced was the Second World War, which in fact changed the industrial scenario, commercial scenario. And a country like Japan came out of the ashes of Second World War. And take, for example, Pepperell Fuchs, I represent the company in Germany, that had a new beginning. In fact, the business started after Second World War. In fact, COVID is no less a crisis, and I think that will also bring forth, as it is bringing destruction, but also opportunity. And as I was saying, WhatsApp, one of the very nice messages was, when there's a cyclone in the sea, what do the fishermen do? The fishermen sit at the shore and repair their net. At the moment, whichever industry partners, manufacturing partners I'm speaking to, not really much can be done. There's a lot of anxiety. But what can surely be done is repairing our net. And what is the repairing? I remember one of the statements of Dr. C.K. Prahlad, who said, unless the technology touches the bottom of the pyramid, the society will not change. Why do I say what I say? Today, if you look at means of communication, media, electronic media, the way it is touching the bottom of the pyramid is a very, very big leapfrog for the Indian society. Now, let me connect the 2 points, the opportunity with the kind of availability of data, digitization, etc., that has suddenly, or in a relatively shorter span of time, took root into the country. And you would see the line, what changed our businesses, especially MSME? I guess the person at helm of MSME is generally struggling a lot with infrastructure, but more so with information. And when I talk about digitization, technology touching the bottom of the pyramid, information is a big solution to any kind of business challenge or the business as such. Information-driven business, and when you are having information at your hand regarding various aspects of business, the unchaining of MSME, things that are waiting, things that we are struggling with, things that are a bleed on our resources, can very well be mitigated. So that is unchaining the challenges of the MSME. And how do we really do that? COVID gives us a chance to go back and look proactively to our digitization plan. Now, when I say digitization plan in reference to a MSME, I'm not looking for a big ticket. Smaller digitizations, for example, I'll just give example of, let's say, energy. Energy is a fixed expense in an enterprise, but should the person at helm of the affairs come to know where and how the energy is going productively, leakage in the system, monitoring it, timing it. Not a big ticket, but a big saving. Digitization solution just running through the information platform. So information on men, material, shop floor, customer, finance, talk any aspect, whichever is a pain point of any enterprise, this is the time. When we say COVID is a crisis, I say this is the time when in the regular course we are unable to subject a treatment to our problems. This is the time when we can look into how can technology in an affordable way intervene. Next slide, please. Here, always the challenge with automation is that what is my ROI? What is the number of days? What is the per unit saving? And how do in a protracted way, if I spend 5 lakh rupees, when do I recover? But if you look closely at MSME operations, I would say there are direct costs, but the indirect costs of bleeding of resources, especially time, energy, money, these are humongous. And if through preliminary infancy digitization interventions into our respective enterprise, we are able to, I would say, bridge the challenges. How? On a very quick note, manufacturing success is governed by so many points, as you would see. I've just tried to go ahead with an empirical depiction with the red dot, how automation in that particular sector can impact. So you would see cost, quality, supply chain, and labor. If digitization solutions, apt digitization solutions, proper digitization solutions, fitting digitization solutions are then applied to the respective enterprise, I think that's the way to go. So yes, of course, COVID is a threat and challenge. Kindly allow me to take a green leaf and say it's also an opportunity by mitigating the challenges of an organization through technology. Over to you, Anuj.
Great. As always, Mr. Agarwal, you end with the positive sign, and I think that's all what matters in the long run. What we are going to do is now we are going to go for a little poll break, and then we will start the technical session. Meanwhile, Mr. Mehta is also trying to get reconnected to us. So can I request the hosts to start and deliver the poll question to the audience? The question is, in the current situation, which is the key factor around which you will invest? So you have 4 choices. Only one of them will work. So go ahead, please. This is interesting. I'm seeing a lot of close competition. I really urge everyone to please participate in this poll, because it does give us a pulse on what your needs are, and particularly when you don't have kind of a straightforward answer, it's really interesting for everybody to put in their weight behind it. We've got about 75 people already voted. So another 30 seconds. Yes, we are getting some clear trends. So can I request for the results now to be shared with the audience? That's it for you. You've got better control and visibility as a number one factor for investing. And I think that should be music to many people. Plugging the losses, yes, that's also an important aspect. And I guess that was on one of our slides when we started the show, identifying your losses. And third comes revamping the shop floor with multi-utility machines. And that's also very understandable because that means spending a lot of cash. And some of you rightly believe that this is not the time for any investment, and we certainly respect that view. So that's a nice pause in our discussion. And now we're trying to bring to you Mr. Sunil Mehta. Mr. Mehta, if you can hear me and respond, are you back? Mr. Sunil Mehta? Hello? In our backend room, do we have any information about Mr. Mehta?
Sir, he is logged in. As an attendee.
You can speak as an attendee.
I can see him as a co-organizer. Mr. Mehta, can you speak? From the co-organizer window, you would have access.
Yes.
Unmute your mic and please speak.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, while we wait for him to come, can I request the audience to start sending in their questions? We have one, but we would like more. So keep penning them down, and we will them in the next break.
Anup?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
So I joined as an attendee. Yeah, maybe I can run through my presentation if you're okay with it.
Okay, sure. We will definitely. Can I request the backend room to start his presentation? Mr. Mehta's presentation, he's going to be speaking through the audio link.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, Mr. Mehta, please go ahead. We are just bringing up your slides.
Presentation. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, first of all, I really apologize for this delay because I tried to get connected as a co-organizer as well as attendee. Somehow, finally, I could manage to join as an attendee for this webinar. In fact, today we will be discussing about affordable automation post-COVID. And for this, particularly, I will be talking more from the point of view of automation as a per se after when we start our manufacturing facilities after this post-COVID and the lockdown gets released. And I believe we are on that track only. And in Pune and in many of the areas now the industries are coming up and started things. So in my overall presentation of couple of slides, I would just like to cover post-COVID-19 manufacturing scenario and necessity of affordable technologies in manufacturing industry. We have a couple of components like small micro modular PLCs and HMIs, and there are remote operations and energy meters. So these are the requirements which will definitely upcome in the coming future, even though we will have some automation on the shop floor. But definitely post-COVID, we will need the further automation and affordable automation requirements for even small as well as mid-size and a complex machine. That's what I feel so. Coming to my next slide, as you see, the post-COVID manufacturing scenario is going to change with the new norms, and basically we need a lot of social distancing even at the shop floor also. So that I feel that with this, a lot of smartphones or tablets and all these things will be required even on the shop floor also, not only the automation components like PLCs, HMI drives, but then we also have to have an integration of IT and factory automation devices and IT that will be also required even for the small scale industries. Then end customers, while they start their facilities or manufacturing facilities, they would like to see they get maximum output with the existing machines and resources what are available. There is a possibility that the end customer may face shortage of the skilled workforce, maybe due to the migration of the existing manpower. Coming to the further component is adding low-cost automation, adding necessary sensors, usage of smart devices like smartphones and on the shop floors. Of course, energy is becoming more and more expensive and we need to monitor and utilize it very judiciously. So energy meters, predictive maintenance, and retrofitments, this will be also required because you see a lot of manufacturing plants has got machines which are working there for 10-15 years or more than that, and sometimes we need to do some retrofitments with the mechanicals and electrical things. So I will be talking about micro modular PLCs or micro modular HMIs. So when we say low cost automation, it covers, of course, modular PLCs, HMI, communication is required. Then we have a lot of analog devices, temperature sensors, and so many things. Push buttons, lamps, annunciator panels, mimic diagrams. We have a lot of, maybe in complex machines, we have some PID controllers and motion controllers and all these things. And of course, there are various standards. So when we talk about all these things, we try to see that there are some of the controllers are available, like a microcontroller or something like that, which can cover or which can provide all these solutions. So there isn't just enough controller which talks about a microcontroller which has got a built-in HMI facility, built-in PLCs facilities, some of the IOs and maybe annunciators and lamps and mimics and all these things. So that type of products are available which are indigenously developed and designed and manufactured in India. As we say, we are nowadays talking about a lot of manufactured in India. So under that, this product is already been designed and it is available in the market as a PLC plus HMI combined controller. So that's a small micro modular controller. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is the product which has got a connectivity. So these type of small controllers are available where we can have wireless connectivity, Ethernet connectivities with the various VFDs and various products. Then we have control instrument connectivities are possible with the Modbus and energy meters and these things. Some of the areas we need to connect printers, maybe dot matrix printer or small printers, then barcode readers, RFIDs, and then we also have some GSM and GPRS modems and all these things, and a SCADA connectivity. So these type of controllers are really low cost, low end products are available in the market, and sensors and the existing equipments also can be upgraded with these type of controllers very easily. So that's an intelligent bridge. I would like to say that it's an intelligent bridge between man and machine, so which will enable us to convert our existing equipments to a bit higher level of automation or a bit towards, I can say, maybe Industry 4.0 or something like that. And then the connectivity from the equipment to the simple software or maybe a SCADA or maybe a server is possible with this type of intelligent device, which can be adopted on the machines. Next, please. Now, these are a couple of applications, spectrums, which can be thought of with this type of controller. So we say bandsaw machines, then coil winding machines, small press, washing cleaning machines, leak testing machines, pump assembly test rigs. So these are the equipments, or these are the possibilities are there where these type of controllers can be used, and automation is possible on these machines. So, and these machines we can see on shop floors, on manufacturing scenario today by and large, and they usually have a very old controller, and then affordable automation is possible on these machines. Yeah. Industrial washing machines, as I said, paint mixer, brick making machines, overhead transporters, or some training kits, and convert dedicated controllers into these type of controllers are possible. So we say a small microcontroller with a built-in HMI, and a lot of functionalities are available. And these products are available today in the Indian market, and they will play a very important role post-COVID for the affordable automation. Yes, next please. Another options also available, because today, if you can see, the youngsters or maybe the new generation is quite comfortable with the smart devices, smartphones, tabs, and all these things. Similarly, these equipments nowadays they easily can be connected to the machines. So personalized mobile monitoring is possible. So a owner or maybe a supervisor can very easily monitor what is happening on the shop floor using his smartphone. It could be iOS or it could be Android-based mobile phones. So that's also possible. Even the MIS functions are possible. So where on this mobile, data can be made available for in a shift, how much OK products or how much products has been produced, or maybe how much energy consumed. So all this data can be made available on a fingertip, and it's not at a very extra cost, while using existing automation as well as adding couple of sensors and adding couple of low-end products like an affordable controller, what I covered in my previous slides. And remote monitoring function is also possible. So if you are moving around or something like that with the internet and with the usage of smartphones, monitoring of the equipments is possible. Or maybe if equipment goes into the stop or error mode, maybe it can generate an SMS to the supervisor so that, or operator, so that it can be possible. Because today after post-COVID, with the social distancing, maybe a little bit away from the machine, the operations of the machines can be very easily possible using smartphones also. So that's what web-based remote solutions are possible, and various functions can be deployed on the machine using this type of controllers. Yes. This is a overall product range. It's a quite big product range available, but if you see at the bottom layer, there is a field layer where we got remote IOs, push buttons, sensors, vibration sensors, and small variable frequency drives and IO terminals and all these things. At the upper layer, there is a control layer. So we have various controller PLCs and all these things. And then there is an IT layer. So depending upon our requirements or depending upon our budgets, all these type of integrations are possible. And we can take the entire manufacturing step by step. So today it could be possible that the automation level in the manufacturing in your companies, it could be industry 2.0 or I can say 2.5 or 3, something like that. But step by step, because these solutions are all scalable. So as we revamp our manufacturing and as we generate some business and profitability, then maybe the solutions can be further upgraded and those solutions are scalable. So using even affordable solutions, the journey, or we can elevate our manufacturing towards 4.0. Yes, next please. So with this, I just would like to conclude my presentation as post-COVID manufacturing industry needs to adopt certain level of automation if they are not having in their existing equipment. So when I say that many of the industries today even are at a very low automation level, but then yes, last couple of 20 years, I have seen in Indian industry, the PLCs, HMIs, variable frequency drives has been largely and widely been adopted or accepted in the automation, in the various automation as an automation component. Definitely to moving ahead to industry 3.5 or I can say industry 4.0, affordable automation, connectivities with the devices, everything is possible at a very low cost. Then cost per product was a key factor that was before also, and it will continue to be there. we can have an association with the local factory automation product supplier or system integrators which are locally available in and around the city and introduce affordable automation. And we have various channel partners who can really work closely with you. There are two types of things. One is an IT company and one is an automation company. So automation system integrators and IT small companies, small startups can really provide you an excellent solution at a low cost. Very important is that we have to use energy in a very effective way and we have to monitor it per component, how much energy is consumed or something like that. So that is also required. And I think with the introduction of small energy meters and some software tools or some software patch, it is very easily possible to monitor the energy. Then effective utilization of devices like smartphones, which I already spelled out that mobiles and tabs and all these things can be used very easily on the shop floor and they are not very expensive. Skill improvement of the manpower will also play a key role. I think FSM and my further panelist can discuss on that and he will be more put a light on skill improvement of the manpower. That also will play a key role. In fact, we have a lot of existing skill manpower which are quite familiar with the machine operations. But then we need to have certain level of skills incorporated into those type of manpower also, so that they can see or they can utilize this technology. Then these technologies are not very expensive and and we can make it very easily adaptable for your manufacturing plants. As I said, partnering with the small IT companies or automation system integrators to get data from the shop floor, and possibility of introduction of economical robots, because robots are also not expensive. I can say that the robots are available in the range of 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs or something like that. I'm just giving a rough figure depending upon the payload and the things. But robots will also play an important role because you need to move components from one machine to another machine or something like that. So that type of possibilities needs to be thought of after post-COVID and as we geared up our manufacturing again. I hope I was audible and somehow I could not as I could not join as a co-organizer. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Sunil, I think while we missed seeing you, but through your beautiful summary and your lecture, I think we got almost every aspect of what you wanted to convey. Thank you so much, and in fact, my apologize for your having to take so much trouble to try and stay connected. But keep connected because we will come back once again to all of you. Now, the reference has been made to the Foundation for Smart Manufacturing, and this is the time for Professor Sunil Jha to come in. As you all know, he's an educationist by heart, but he's rubbing his shoulders almost every day with people from our industry and the manufacturing industry. And one of the things which he's really sensitive to and alive is the fact that can the Indian automation solutions be delivered at prices, at costs, which are definitely within the range of the small and medium enterprise. What are your thoughts, Professor Jha, on keeping this cost-benefit ratio relevant for the business owner?
Yeah, good afternoon. And let me just come to the point. We are talking about two things. One is the cost part, another is the benefits that we want to reap from the solutions that can be deployed. Now, first of all, we need to understand the challenges and the problems that we have in manufacturing. So that is the reason that we keep emphasizing on that. Before we run for any of the product or the solution or the technology, we should understand that what's the existing problem right now and which problem I'm going to address through the smart manufacturing. And through the poll, what I have found, I think in 90% they are looking forward for some solutions, either in the control, in terms of visibility, in terms of multi-process capability of the machines. Idea is that once we are clear that what benefits we look forward, then comes the role of the technology. And when we talk about technology, that is a product, that is an hardware. Certainly there is a software component to it, and there are people required to basically deploy and develop those solutions. Now, it's not just a product off the shelf you'll buy from the market and deploy the solution. Whenever we talk about the turnkey solution, certainly the cost is much higher. That's the reason that we started this initiative in Foundation for Smart Manufacturing, that let people understand and explore these possibilities. Certainly, we know that there's a variety of hardware available, and I appreciate the kind of an hardware Mr. Sunil Mehta was explaining. It's a very small, compact, low-cost controller available in market these days. So it's not that automation always come at a very high price. We need to select a right hardware solution for that. So based on the problem, based on the capability, we look forward. And certainly most of these hardwares are coming with the communication inbuilt. So idea is that once we are able to find out a suitable low-cost hardware for deployment of the smart manufacturing solution, the next part that we look forward, who is going to build a program onto that, and how this is going to interface or connect with my facility. And on top of that, basically how I will be connecting it to the web and how the information and the report will be available. So these are the variety of options to be deployed, or these are the things to be implemented. So it's not just in a cost of the hardware in the automation that plays a role. There are many more services linked to that. And my experience that we always keep trying what is available off the shelf in the market. We also keep experimenting with the open source options available. And certainly we look forward to do some research on those aspects to bring down at least the software and the manpower cost in development of these solutions. Hardware, certainly we don't have much capability right now. So certainly we have to be relying onto the hardware that is available in the market. But I appreciate those who are developing in India as well. Those kind of solutions can be tried out. Most important part is that we look forward for human resource who is responsible in deploying these solutions. Most of the time, I see that the MSMEs and the companies find challenge when they just completely outsource the whole functionality to someone outside. And most of the time, they are not aware of what is happening and how the solution is being deployed. What I suggest, let's not remain ignorant about what this hardware, what this software, what kind of solutions I look forward. Because as we keep on demystifying these options, believe me that it's not that difficult. I think if you can just identify any of the manpower in your organization who can at least understand these integrities, and then even then you want to use the services of an outsourced partner, that will be more beneficial and helpful in even reaping the more benefits and reducing the cost part. So what I suggest, there's always a cost, certainly, but we'll always trying to reduce the cost down by empowering our people to understand the solution. Those who can even learn it, there are small courses available, there are small training available. We will empower our own people to at least understand the hardware and software solutions so they can implement in the organization, because it's not one-day activity. It has to be extended over a period of time. So if we have our own inner strength to deploy those solutions, believe me that we will be able to bring out the cost of deployment of the automation to a much lower level that is known today. So that's what my suggestion is. Over to you, Anup. Your voice is not coming. It might be mute.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for pointing out. I think it's a very sensible way you have laid forward, and I would urge all the users who are trying to figure out how to get started, make your problem statement clear, make your gain statement clear, and we will definitely be coming back to all of you with certain simple templates on how you could actually make that problem definition more and more sharper. Now I am looking at some of the questions which have come in. Few of them have been answered by me on the chat box, but I'll like to take one and take it to Sunil Mehta. He's asking, Mr. Manish Kulshrestha is asking for wireless motor vibration sensor. Do you have or you don't have? And Mr. Kulshrestha, you might also have seen our previous webinars. I think we had one specially focused on motor vibration sensor, so you could look into that. Mr. Mehta, any answer, or should I move to the next question?
I will respond to this question, and what I will suggest, there are options available in the market, as I keep on mentioning in my previous discussion. If we can identify, because there are two components, you are talking about the wireless communication, you will be talking about the vibration sensor. So if you go for an integrated solution off the shelf available, certainly they are available and you will be paying for that. There are also important services available where you will be able to analyze the data from the sensor, because it's not just a sensor deployment that will help you. You need to analyze those signals, and certainly you would like to generate some alerts. So there are different components. One is the hardware, that is the vibration sensor. Then you will be enabling it with the communication solution. And finally, you would like to take the data and be analyzed. So all these three has to be thought through when we are talking about them. The services are available these days to get these deployment.
Thank you, Dr. Jha.
Yeah,
There's a very interesting question which is come in from Mr. Anuj Mehrotra. I would take that to Mr. Sehgal. The question is, as cash flow restriction, apart from cultural behavior, cultural behavior is actually my next theme. So the one to be answered, Mr. Sehgal, is, are there any government initiatives which gives incentive to Industry 4.0 adopters, or any other bank scheme which facilitates loans for MSMEs to move towards Industry 4.0?
What we have seen is, and we have been requesting the government to work out a tough scheme, which is a technology upgradation fund, because that will really help in getting the industry into using the automation and robotics and 3D, whatever technology. At present, there is no special fund only for Industry 4.0, but having spent a lot of time with the Department of Heavy Industries and Dr. Sehag, he said if there is a cluster approach in trying to do something, for this, then I think the government and the ministry can work out a special fund for doing a kind of an automation for a particular sector with a particular program. And that has to be worked out with a group of industries. It can't be handled on an individual basis. So at the moment, the answer is that there is no such direct scheme for upgradation, except for taking the term loan and stuff like that. But we are with the government, working with the government on a technology upgradation fund. Until then, if there is a cluster scheme which a group of industries can give a presentation, we can take that forward to the government.
That's really encouraging. And Mr. Sehgal, as someone very closely associated with the ministry's scheme and Dr. Sehag's vision for Samarth Udyog, our foundation at IIT Delhi is already equipped to take subsidy immediately from the ministry under the existing scheme. So all what we need to do is put in a cluster of users, and they would probably have to pay maybe 20 to 30%.
Okay.
So that can be something which can be actually implemented from next week onwards itself, because the fund is available, the scheme is an ongoing scheme, and we will do all the paperwork necessary to get that into place.
That is wonderful.
Okay, now my please stay back, Mr. Sehgal. The question which I wanted to ask, and which was also alluded to by Anuj, is about he calls it cultural behavior. I would like to say it's probably part of the mental preparedness. What is the challenge you foresee with the entrepreneurs? Even if funds are available, would they really spend their time and energy and hire talent? How would they go about leapfrogging from the old world way of doing things into the modern way?
It's a good, very interesting question. The thing is, I find that there are two different types of entrepreneur group. One is the old school, who've been working with a certain set system and method, who don't want to change for reasons of cost, for reasons of manpower not being available for that. And then on the other hand, there is a young set of entrepreneurs who want some kind of, to take up the challenge and to do something differently. And I think we have to find out these kind of entrepreneurs and educate them. I think what is the need of the day is to create awareness before we take the action. A lot of them do understand the need for an assembly line approach of production. Everybody wants a capacity expansion. So what needs to be done is a mindset change into educating them and showing them the way that it's not just being modern, it's saving costs, improving quality, increasing capacity, and these are the things that they will on the paper see the profitability also coming in, and they'll be able to sell themselves as a brand India product. And we are also trying to get this issue done through various e-catalogs now, is to ensure that the companies pass these certain tests and qualify through the e-catalog, which would be promoted by all the embassies overseas, and that would give a niche and an edge to the manufacturer and exporter. And this is something which we would like to be working, and we would probably be working with you. We could be working with other engineering colleges, wherein the academia and the industry, we get together, work together to bring about a awareness and to bring this youth in the entrepreneurship out and to get into these challenges. Anup?
Thanks for taking us on the youth part of the solution. We do recognize that this is time for the new generation to pick up and not only look at the engineering colleges, but I think somewhere deep in our heart, we know that the people who actually work on the shop floor are the technicians, the diploma holders, the so-called electrical maintenance people, the instrument people. And that's also another area where we would want to offer these programs. Mr. Mehta, good to see you on the screen. Is your just check your mic if it is on mute or unmute, because we are hearing an echo. Yeah, now it's fine. Now it's fine. Great. So quickly now we are now in the closing laps of the program. One final poll we'll do before we jump into a few more questions. Can we have poll number 2 done, and then I'll come back to Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Mehta, and Professor Jha. Let's do the poll number 2 first. The poll question is, do you believe that automation will be a necessary infrastructure of your shop floor in the emerging supply chain? And when we mean by necessary infrastructure, we mean the way you look at electrical infrastructure or air supply or pneumatics or IT systems. Do you believe this will be a very, very necessary and basic part of your enterprise? I think here we are getting very clear trends, so we could actually share the results with the audience. Definitely very, very clear trend. Endorsing automation, saying yes, we need automation to survive and thrive. Okay. With this, if everybody does believe that this is the way forward, I would now like to quickly ask some of our panelists questions related to the actual execution. So I don't think there is any lack of alignment on the need or the necessity, but to really fast track this process and to pick up from where Mr. Sehgal left, how can AIA and FSM look at the demographic and the market, variations, or the distant spread of the factories, and bring the skills to their doorstep? So, Mr. Agarwal, how would you like to respond to this?
Thank you, Anoopji. I would say it's very exhilarating to see how amongst all different webinars from many different segments, people are so much pro automation that that's the way to go. But there is, again, a dire need for automation to be adopted in its right perspective. Kindly allow me to base my discourse on my favorite SWOT analysis. I'll just request the back room to kindly help me with the slide. Thank you. I continuously use this SWOT analysis for adoption of automation within different industrial segments. And this is the one I have drawn and constantly upgrade for MSME. Now, we habitually can always say, put more stress on our weaknesses and threats, but overwhelmingly in last 3 months, talking to everybody, the user, the service provider, the educationists, everybody is accelerating, putting forward the dire need of automating to various degrees for meeting out the challenges. So I'll rather talk about the first two quadrants, that is the strength and the opportunities of our market. You're talking about skills being one of it. And a very simple discourse, an idea on that is there is a quasi-deglobalization that has been in fray last couple of years, catalyzed by COVID. And if deglobalization or quasi-deglobalization is the way forward, and by far we in India are sitting and grooming one of the biggest markets in the world. So even if deglobalization happens, any other company or country, wherever they produce, they have to bring goods to the market. And last so many decades of experience has shown that you will have to produce in situ. That means you will have to produce goods closest to the points of consumption. So if we are sitting in one of the biggest markets of the world, the manufacturing and automated manufacturing for that matter, to cater to the big, to the diverse, and to the huge spread of the domestic market in India, take root. And you cannot do that without automation. And as much as I say, if you look at the opportunities I've tried to push, IT and shop floor automation is no more a big ticket and big players game. Courtesy to English speaking India, automation hardware from all different corners of the world are available in India, and thankfully at probably the most competitive prices in the world. I deal with automation hardware, so I can tell you with guarantee that India is one of the places in the world where the cost competition and availability of automation hardware is the highest. Having said that, knowing that this is a market, manufacturing has to happen in situ, our MSME have to scale up and have to become efficient. And automation being the way forward, with automation goods being available at the most competitive rates. And this is not a monopoly of big ticket people. If you look at all cities, you would find one very simple phenomena. People who are ready to integrate and deploy automation hardware at different scales, sizes, and I would say cost economies are available. We in India, knowingly or unknowingly, just like our IT system, permit me to say, have created that today the IT, and even people say IT, OT, I am also seeing small time IT integration with shop floor automation being also made possible. And mind my saying, not only in Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, or Bangalore. I have seen in many other table cities in India where the entrepreneurial spirit thrusted by, we can criticize our colleges and IT, but there is no dearth of youngsters who are willing to take up the gauntlet and run it. And we, in fact, at FSM are in touch with a plenty. So, summing it up, I would say, Anoopji, today, lots of strength and opportunities are available. What is more needed is a simple baby step forward by an end user or an integrator to pick up and apply. And the way then opens up by itself. That is the beauty of the ecosystem. And I think it will be further accentuated by this phenomena of deglobalization, as I'm calling, because all successful MSMEs have a huge opportunity to expand and cater to domestic market and grow into that scale of economies. Permit me a last minute. I would like to quote my colleague, Dr. Date, in last webinar. He made a very important statement. A lot of manufacturing migrated to China, and a lot of manufacturing does take place in China over the cost platform. But it is in China itself that the maximum hardware for automation, including robotics, is being applied. That too, in conjunction with the labor. So, scale of economies, proper induction of automation with a proper blueprint for innovation, scaling up, efficient manufacturing, cutting down the cost, reach to the market. I think it's a whole pyramid that builds up necessities to start with a simple pain point. So I guess Foundation for Smart Manufacturing, AIA, EEPC, and host of associations, organizations are much more ready than ever in the past to give a supporting hand. Over to you, Anuj.
Thank you, Ravi. And really, all the audience should be encouraged by the fact that we will reach out and things are affordable. On the question of affordability, I would just now ask Mr. Mehta to come back. Sunilji, you spoke about the affordable solutions, but these days, especially with the IT world, the consumers are being given a lot of EMI or pay per use kind of options. Do you think the automation solutions can also be bucketed into hardware, software, and part of software and services can be taken as a monthly revenue? Do you think it's possible to make it easy for the users?
Anup, I got your question. I think there are two ways of looking to it. if you talk about the big companies, you're talking about subscription model, right? So many of the times, if you go for a licensed softwares in a big way for MES or sort of Industry 4.0 or something like that, I feel that the subscription model will be required. Else, there is another option, as Agarwal ji has also covered in his just quote before my talking. Because IT in various cities, not only the big metro cities like Bangalore and Delhi and Mumbai, there are many small IT companies and startups are there, and they can really deliver us a beautiful patch which can get connected to the factory automation hardware which is already installed on the machine, or maybe in my presentation I covered microcontrollers or micro PLCs which are having a lot of possibilities to connect, and also having the connectivity with the smartphones, and also having data cards and all these things. So with that hardware and a small IT company, a very simple solution can be deployed as per the end customer requirement. So the sort of small reports and all these things can be done. So it could be a one-time solution which can be deployed in a month of say 2 or 3 months, depending upon the size of the project, and the necessary reports and all these things can be given to the owner or the end customer, and then it just can be given off. Maybe it can be continue for 1 year or 2 years, and unless and until the end customer goes for expansion or addition of some equipments and all these things. So both the solutions are possible. One-time software which is purchased by the end customer, which is getting integrated with the PLCs or HMIs and all these things, whatever the devices are available on the shop floor, on the control side, on various connectivities, maybe Wi-Fi or maybe on the industrial Ethernet. So those type of things are possible. And if you talk about the bigger companies, we call it as an e-factory and e-factory alliance partner, then subscription models are also possible. From my point of view, MSMEs can work with a very small companies or startups, and a very low end, maybe medium style integrators which are available locally in that area. Why I'm saying locally in that area? Because then the end customer and the integrator can work very closely with each other, and they can do some modification as and when required. So those things are possible.
Great.
And the server prices and all these things just came down, so it's very easily possible.
Okay, so that's also very, very encouraging. Dr. Jha, given the fact that we are looking at skilling in a big way, and through that there will be a reach out. What are your thoughts on the road ahead for Samarth Udyog when it comes to making solutions more and more affordable for SMEs?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning in my previous statements, there are 3 elements to any solution that we were discussing. One is certainly the hardware, where the manufacturers are trying to build those hardware in India and try to bring out the cost part on the hardware. And certainly these are the things we need to buy from the market and have to deploy. But on top of that, building a solution involves the writing a program, connecting the hardware with the right sensor, interfacing with them. Now, these days we are talking about smart manufacturing. So we would like to take the data somewhere to analyze and then display the data to visualize. So these are the different solutions that to be built. Hardware is certainly forming in a very small part of the whole solution. On top of that, lot of services to be built upon, and we look forward for, because as I was reading in Q&A also, many of you are excited to learn these solutions, how they can be built upon, and we are very much willing to enable you to do those kind of an experiments. So this foundation, what we are discussing right now, is in a foundation for smart manufacturing at IIT Delhi. We are certainly look forward that our people should get trained and understand what the integrities of the technology, how those solutions can be built on those piece of hardware. So we are always available as an experimental platform. Before you anyway try to invest anything in your own shop floor, we are always be there to do a lot of experiment with us. So you initially explore the possibility of the different hardware, different sensor, different connectivity. You can anyway take our services, visit our lab, try out those solutions before you invest into those solutions, because here we will give you a variety of hardware and software options possible. And once you are confident that these are the way you can deploy that solutions, then later on you can invest and then take that solution there. Moreover, we will also look forward to train your people. So because that's a very important part, they should understand the hardware part, they should understand the communication, they should understand the software solutions that can be built upon. Even we will be using them as a pay-per-use solutions in the cloud, or we will be hosting our data locally. All these networking, communication, software, cloud, all these new technologies which are required to be understood for smart manufacturing, we will be there to help you out. And we will be there to train our own people to understand these technologies and then deploy those solutions. I think that's the way forward, that every time we will not be looking forward that someone else will come and then help us in doing this. We are already working in that direction, and those who have a keen interest, please experiment this, because the solution we are talking about may not be done in a one day kind of an approach. We need to look forward at a period of 6 months to 1 year. You can start anywhere from a small pilot, and then let's experiment and learn from that pilot. And once you get a confidence, then you can take that solution for the whole facility. Over to you.
I wanted to ask you, how's the progress going on your smart factory project? You know, that micro production unit. I know you are quietly building it up. Why don't you make an announcement? When do you want the people to come and have a look at it?
Yeah, certainly, because before we say anything on this front, we are trying to experiment ourselves, because that's what we found, that in IIT Delhi we have a very old workshop to be modernized. So as all of you have some traditional facility in your factory, we trying to do one experiment ourselves in our own central workshop to modernize and connect those machines, try to implement some solutions on automated material handling, try to build some robotic welding solutions. So these are the activities we are already doing in our workshop. Maybe in the next 3 months, we'll be ready to demonstrate and deploy and demonstrate that how these solutions has been done in a traditional factory. So I think that is the time frame we look forward, where we all are invited to come and see how we have done those experiments.
Thank you, Dr. Jha. We are all going to look forward to it. Now I am going to connect some of the questions which have come in. Mr. Rakesh Gupta and Mr. Rajesh Kumar Madan, both have been talking about, and they have two, three questions. I think they both centered around hand-holding and about being able to do a pilot project, or about getting professionals, or about helping them with a roadmap. What I do want to inform to all the attendees is the fact that we are ready with a survey for your firm, which will cover 3 important pillars: your manufacturing processes, the technologies, as well as your culture. And based on that, we will be able to tell you where exactly your weak links are and where you need to invest. The only thing you need to do is have a very clear vision of where you want to reach, what kind of supply chain you want to get connected, what are the customers' demands you want to fulfill. As long as you're clear on that side, and we have this dipstick survey, I think there'll be a very close connect with what your next step should be. So with that, I would like to wrap up today's discussion. We've had an excellent round of exchange. I was wanting to have a convergence towards the end, but I think it was very evident when Mr. Ravi Sehgal and Mr. Ravi Agarwal were speaking that both EPC and AIA stand fully committed, and FSM with Dr. Sunil Jha is also committed to bringing it to you, and Mitsubishi, as one of our main sponsors and very closely behind the AIA initiatives, has made it so easy for this segment now to move fast, literally get on the bandwagon and start unrolling the automation excellence. I would now like to announce the date of our next seminar. We are taking a little break for a week, and then we are back on the 12th of June for our next talk on business and technology. You will get the announcements, you will get the speaker details by email. Till then, have a safe, enjoyable, and a good weekend, and I hope to see you again on the 12th. Goodbye, everybody, and thank you once again, Mr. Ravi Sehgal, Mr. Ravi Agarwal, Mr. Sunil Mehta, and Professor Sunil Jha. Both the Ravis and both the Sunils have matched each other on both the rounds, so it's a good win for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.